Going to be talking about what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers options are at the quarterback position now that Tom Brady has retired from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I am not alone in this video today. Joining me yet again from the Cannon Fire podcast, it is Rhett. Rhett, how are you doing today, man?
Everybody's favorite. I'm really glad to be here. I'm excited to talk about some potential options for the Buccaneers at quarterback next season. Should be a good one.
Yeah, Rhett, and there's, I think, a lot more options than people want to think about, right? Because I think anything's on the table for the Bucs, right? You have trades, you have free agency, you have, them just keeping what they have. And we're going to be kind of giving a bit of a gloss over of all three of those different paths that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can take in this video today. There's going to be some other specific guys that, I'll probably be making separate videos about, be it trades or free agency or whatever it may be. But, I kind of wanted to give a bit of a summary, right, on what the Buccaneers options are. Rhett, the first grouping of guys that we're going to be talking about is going to be the trade market. And I think that this one is definitely a lot bigger of a market than, what some people are thinking, because there's so many quarterbacks that could be on the move, right? The two big guys, Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers, Russell Wilson from the Seattle Seahawks. Those are two names that a lot of people are going to be clamoring about. A lot of people are going to be wanting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But Rhett, it goes even deeper than that. You have guys like potentially Jalen Hurts on the Eagles, depending on what they want to do at the quarterback position. Maybe Gardner Minshew on the Eagles, depending on what they want to do at the quarterback position. Kirk Cousins with the Vikings. Maybe Jared Goff with the Lions. You've also got guys like Jimmy Garoppolo for the San Francisco 49ers. He's a guy that could potentially be out there. And that's just the NFC, Rhett. In the AFC, you've got Derek Carr with the Raiders, although it seems like they're probably going to be keeping him. You've got Deshaun Watson with the Houston Texans. And those are kind of some of the names that are out there right now in the trade market. What are your thoughts on the Buccaneers potentially trading for a quarterback, and what are your thoughts on some of the options I named out there with guys like Rodgers, Wilson, Garoppolo? I know those are really three names that are going to be mentioned a lot here throughout this whole process, and some of the other guys I talked about as well.
The Buccaneers are in a really interesting situation because, just like you said, they have the option to go out and trade for one of these top name guys, your Russell Wilson, your Aaron Rodgers, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to give up the most to go after those guys. And yeah, you can kick the can down the road a little bit further, but with a roster that's still built to win, you can 100% still be a Super Bowl contender if you have either Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. But the next question that factors into it is longevity, right? I mean, Bruce Arians has come back and confirmed he'll be back coaching next season, but we don't know how much further along after that he'll still be coaching. How much does he want to develop a quarterback? Does he want to develop a quarterback at this time of his career? Because if you bring a Jalen Hurts, a Gardner Minshew, for the sake of conversation, a Jimmy G, I know Jimmy G is very established, but the guy could still improve. So yeah, the sexy picks are going to be Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and that would bring a new level of excitement to this Buccaneers team. But the fact of the matter is, the Bucs are still just a quarterback away from competing. Like, I know a lot of people might see the absence of Tom Brady and automatically assume this Bucs team is doomed, but like, truthfully, this is a team that's still built to win now. And that's going to have to factor into the Buccaneers' decision-making, because you want to kind of find the perfect formula of who's going to help you win as quickly as possible, but in the long run, who has a little bit more longevity, right? When you compare Aaron Rodgers to Russell Wilson, Wilson definitely has more longevity, but his play style is vastly different than that of Aaron Rodgers. So does that play style of Russell Wilson equal longevity down the road, right? Like, you could probably compete with a guy like Russ under center for 4, 5, maybe 6 years. But after that, the Bucs are going to be in the exact same situation where you're probably going to be faced with a lot of free agents. And if you don't know who the quarterback's going to be, it's going to make that process that much harder. And it puts the Bucs that much closer to a rebuild. But that's hopefully 4, 5, 6 years from now. But when you look at some of the free agents and the guys that they could bring in, some of the younger talent, it might not be as crazy of a deal as Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. But if that's what the Bucs want to do at quarterback and they want to develop a guy like that, that's a decision they're going to make. But in my personal opinion, I think the Bucs are going to do whatever they have to just keep this roster winning football games. And I think with a guy like Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, hell, even Derek Carr with an offensive line, I think all three of those guys give you a really good chance to still be a contender. And I think that's the Buccaneers' priority right now as far as looking at options for quarterback over the course of the offseason.
Yeah, man, I got to agree with you there. I think the Bucs are going to be willing to do, whatever it takes to stay competitive here, in the NFC. I mean, shoot, you can argue the South is wide open right now, right? With Drew Brees retiring, Sean Payton stepping down, the Panthers and the Falcons are still trying to figure things out. There's a lot of options, right? I guess I did forget to mention a guy like Sam Darnold, but we don't got to mention a guy like Sam Darnold.
I don't know. We don't have to spend a whole lot of time on Sam Darnold.
Right, exactly. But the point being, that, I think the Buccaneers would be interested in trading for a quarterback. Absolutely. And I think they are going to go for those big target guys like Aaron Rodgers, like Russell Wilson. Of course, they can try, whether or not they will or will not succeed in getting those guys would remain to be seen. But at this point, Rhett, you can't count anything out, right? You really can't at this point because Tom Brady ended up, quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and nobody expected that. So, I expect the unexpected at this point, is the best way to put it. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I agree with you, man. I think that, they are going to try to go out there and pursue every single, avenue of trying to trade for a top guy. Which, hey, I don't fault them for that at all because, like you said, they still want to remain competitive. They still want to, have this window and be able to capitalize on it while the window is still there, while Bruce Arians is still here. Like you said, we don't know how much longer Bruce Arians is going to be here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I agree 100% that I think a trade is certainly going to be something that they would explore. But you said, Rhett, in the future, hey, the Buccaneers are going to have some young free agents that they'll have to bring back, to try and stay competitive with a quarterback. And free agency is actually the next avenue that we're going to cover here, Rhett. There actually aren't that many quarterbacks that would be interesting options in the realm of free agency. You have guys like Teddy Bridgewater. His contract is going to be expiring with the Denver Broncos. Marcus Mariota is also going to be a free agent. Andy Dalton with the Chicago Bears will be a free agent. But aside from that, Rhett, that there really isn't much else. Like maybe a Jacoby Brissett. Jameis Winston will be a free agent. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to be commenting about that.
Listen, man, you thought the fan base imploded when they signed Tom Brady. If they brought back Jameis Winston for round 2, man, that would be an experience.
Well, it would be something. But my point being, right, that in terms of options, it seems a little bit light this year, right? In terms of guys that you would think have that Super Bowl caliber, deep playoff run caliber on a consistent basis. What are your thoughts on some of these free agent options that I just mentioned?
Yeah, it just kind of supports the point that I think the Bucs are going to be aggressive in trying to trade for someone because you bring up that list of free agent quarterbacks you just talked about. Andy Dalton, Teddy Bridgewater, top of the list. I don't know if you're going to be able to win a Super Bowl with either of those guys, even if they're playing on a stacked roster like the Buccaneers currently have. But Andy Dalton, his stint with the Bears, he got overshadowed by a rookie. Marcus Mariota is a fun thought, but you're not going to win games with Marcus Mariota. It's a whole new teaching process. And that's what it's going to factor into for the Bucs. They want to figure out how to get through this offseason, how to find a new quarterback, how to re-sign all their guys, Chris Godwin, Jordan Whitehead, all of those guys a priority, right? But how can they do all of that and remain competitive into next season? Because Bruce Arians is sticking around because he probably believes this Bucs team can still win without Tom Brady under center. A lot of people probably feel that way within the organization, but it's going to be up to them to really go out there, hammer down, and find the candidate or the guy that should be the guy for the foreseeable future, whether it's the next 2 years, whether it's the next 5 or 6 years, and Bruce Arians is retired 3 years into that. I don't know what their timetable looks like, but I think their main goal, kind of like I said at the start, is to just remain competitive. And you want to end up, not with the short end of the stick when you talk about the quarterback market this coming off season.
Yeah, out of those guys that I mentioned, a guy like Andy Dalton, a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, me, I think a lot of people on the channel know this. I'm pretty high on Teddy Bridgewater. What are your thoughts there on him?
Listen, dude, I'm a big Teddy B fan as well. Don't get me wrong. I was a huge Teddy Bridgewater fan when he was in Minnesota. The injury was absolutely tragic. I thought it was going to derail his career. And I think that's the biggest accomplishment of his career is coming back from that gruesome injury that he had. But let's face it, man. I mean, the guy was given the keys to an offense twice with the Panthers and the Broncos and just couldn't really do much with it. I mean, in Carolina, there were multiple times where he would seal the game with an interception when they needed him to, put them in field goal range or drive down the field and put them in a position to win. He was unable to do it. Can you scheme a guy like Teddy Bridgewater to be good or serviceable? Absolutely you can, right? You look at that run he had in 2020, he went 5-0 as the Saints starters and Sean Payton's offense, but Bruce Arians' offense isn't Sean Payton's offense. And I think Teddy Bridgewater is really not what they're going to be looking for, especially if this Buccaneers offense hopes to continue to move the ball down the field the way that they have these past 3 years.
I would say this. I think out of the free agent options that would be considered, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit here. I think that if they couldn't trade for a quarterback, I mean, they'd basically be forced to consider Teddy Bridgewater heavily, right? That would
they liked him before.
Right. You go back to that offseason when they did sign Tom Brady. They were heavily considering Teddy Bridgewater before they realized, oh, wait, we might actually be able to get Tom Brady here. And then they obviously shifted gears there. But, I think that Teddy Bridgewater may be a legitimate option if they can't find a trade partner to secure a deal. If they can't get Teddy B, maybe you're with Andy Dalton. I mean, the guy did make the playoffs multiple years with the Cincinnati Bengals, but, your reaction there, Red, I think tells a pretty, good story. Like I said, it's just a bit of a weaker quarterback free agency class right now. In regards to Jameis Winston, I'm going to be brief about it. Quarterbacks usually don't go back to their teams, once they leave. It doesn't happen. So I don't think that, well, Cam Newton did, but I really don't think that that's going to be a thing. Cam Newton's a free agent too, by the way. So,
oh no.
Right, exactly. So it's a little bit of a lighter quarterback free agency class, Rhett. And again, like what you said at the top of the video, or really at the top of this section, I definitely think the Buccaneers are going to heavily pursue trading a quarterback, and then kind of have free agency more as a fallback option, if anything. But Rhett, one thing that I know a lot of people are scared about and concerned about is that, Bruce Arians came out recently and said, I'm comfortable with Kyle Trask and Blaine Gabbert at the quarterback position, which made a lot of people freak out and say, oh my gosh, they're actually going to stick with Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask. Me, I'm also a big fan of Blaine Gabbert and Kyle. I'm a fan of everybody, but I like Blaine Gabbert, the gift of Gabbert, and Kyle Trask, What are your thoughts on those two guys? What are your thoughts on them keeping what they have right now? Because in my opinion, I think the chances are slim to none.
Yeah, I think if we're in a situation where Kyle Trask and or Blaine Gabbert are starting games for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next season, that means either A, the free agent quarterback that they got is injured and not playing, or B, they just weren't aggressive enough. I don't see a situation where the Buccaneers are comfortable enough with Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask. I think if that's the situation, you have to mention these guys together because in a 17-game season, if Blaine Gabbert is starting a couple of games, I'm going to bet my next paycheck that Kyle Trask is probably going to be starting the next couple of games as well. I think Bruce said that as a formality, right? It's coach talk. He's not going to make any one guy on his roster feel bad one way or the other. That's not what it's about. But I mean, I don't think they do that. Bruce has said he's like Blaine Gabbert before, but the guy is a generational backup. That's what his career has been since he was drafted all the way back in 2011. Is that going to change anytime soon? Probably not. I mean, for his sake, it'd be interesting to see a team give him a shot, but like the Jags already did that. You know what I mean? Like we kind of know what we have in Blaine Gabbert. As far as Kyle Trask, it's just too much of a wild card right now. If the Bucs are going to be putting it on his shoulders to win games with this roster, will he win you a few games? Absolutely. But you're not going to go on a Super Bowl run with Kyle Trask. Sorry. The guy's a second-year quarterback, barely played in the preseason last year. That's all the reps he got so far. So it's going to take a little while to really smoothen out a guy like Kyle Trask. But to answer your question, no, I don't think the Bucs are going to be in a situation where either of those guys are going to be starting for them in week 1 of 2022.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, man. Even Jason Light had said, hey, we like Blaine Gabbert. He could be our future starting quarterback. I don't think this is a thing. I mean, like, I love Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask,
Give to
okay?
Gabbert, man.
But as much as I love those boys, you know that you got to put things into context. You got to be real with certain things. And the Buccaneers could go out, and they should go out and get a starting quarterback here for next season, be it again like in the trade market or be it in free agency. Like you said, the only reason Trask or Gabbert should be playing next season is if their current starter is hurt and not able to play. Like you said, I think they could win some games with Gabbert or Trask at the quarterback position, but in the case of Gabbert, I think that he's in a good spot where he is as the backup quarterback. He's also got an expiring contract, so it's not a guarantee that he comes back. But also in the case of Kyle Trask, I think you give him maybe another year, maybe even 2 years to develop and grow as a quarterback. I'd say at the very least you give him one more season. Let him continue to learn under Bruce Arians and all the other guys that they've got over there in the Buccaneers organization. And then he might be ready for a starting quarterback role for an entire season. But for right now, I still think it's a little bit too early. I would want to see more from Trask, for sure. And I don't think that it would be the right time to take a risk like that with such little time to see him at the quarterback position. So, yeah, Rhett, I think we're ultimately in agreement here. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to heavily pursue the trade market. I think that's first and foremost. Free agency is a fallout plan, a backup plan just in case the trade market doesn't pan out. And then, hey, if all else fails, then you kind of maybe got to roll with Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask. But there's a lot of things to happen, Rhett. And I think we're both in agreement on this, yes?
Oh yeah, I think if Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask is your answer by week 1, that's the worst case scenario. There isn't a lot of other ways to look at that, but I'm excited to see what the offseason holds, and I'm excited to see the Bucs aggressively trading for guys because listen, the state of the NFL right now, there's a lot of teams that are mortgaging their futures away to compete for a championship right now. The LA Rams, who knocked out the Bucs in the playoffs, well, they're playing in the Super Bowl right now because they sold out to go get Matt Stafford. He led them to the promised land. I'm going to refer to that as the TB12 formula because essentially that's what the Bucs had to do, given they didn't have to give up as much to go get Tom Brady. Still was a risk, and luckily for them, it paid off. But I'm excited to see what the Bucs can do, and hopefully they land with a real contender.
Absolutely. And folks, we'll obviously be keeping you updated on all the rumors, all the news, whatever the Tampa Bay Buccaneers decide to do here at the quarterback position. Again, I'm going to be having some separate videos talking about guys like Rodgers and Wilson and probably Jimmy Garoppolo and all these other guys that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will potentially be interested in, just to kind of give a little bit more deep dives into that. So let us know your thoughts and opinions about all these options that we presented down in the comments section below. It would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Rhett, I want to thank you for being on as well. Thank you so much for that, sir. For everybody watching, go check out Rhett's channel, the Cannon Fire Podcast here on YouTube. Again, that will be down in the pinned comment down in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed, and we will see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.